Okay, so that's great. It is recording, so everybody will have to accept the fact that the meeting is recording. It should just pop up on your screen there, you know. Okay, so I think we have a lot more people to log on, or maybe people are going to follow up with the recording. But as I say, we've quite a good bit to get through, so I think we'll get started. So yeah, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Chitali Patel, and Dr. Chitali tonight is going to talk about the topic of constipation from an Ayurvedic point of view. And constipation is something that I mean, it can afflict people at different times in their lives. It can be a recurring problem. It can be a continual problem. It can maybe never be a problem. Maybe it's just a problem when you're traveling or under stress or something like that. But there's a reason why it happens. And as always with Ayurveda, that's what we're looking to do, is discover what's causing this to happen. And there are many, many different ways of dealing with it. So Dr. Chitali is an Ayurvedic doctor. She's done her BAMS degree in Ayurveda, and she now lives and works in the city centre in Dublin. She does online consultations as well as personal consultations with people from the Grand Canal area of Dublin. And so I'm going to hand over to Dr. Chitali, and she has this great presentation for us. And at the end of it, then we'll have a Q&A session as well, you know. So Dr. Chitali, you can go ahead there.
Thank you, Noel, for the description. So good evening, everyone, and we'll start with the webinar soon. So it's a very common topic and everyone seems to be very interested. So let's start with that. One sec. So everyone can view the screen. I guess you are unmute. Yeah, so you can just type in the chat box if it is, you can view the screen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's go ahead. So today's topic is constipation, and we have to know the facts about constipation. And in Ayurveda, constipation is called as Vibandha. So the name itself, Vibandha, is an Ayurvedic terminology, and it means obstruction. So you can see in the picture, there's a lockout here at the end where your stool passes through. At the anus, it gets blocked. So this is what is like the obstruction. It refers to the bowel movements that are infrequent and even hard to pass. And sometimes it is the solidified hard stool. There is painful defecation and even feeling of bloatedness and abdominal discomfort and incomplete evacuation of bowels. So these are the facts about constipation, what constipation is. And constipation is really very common nowadays in any age, we can say, right from the childhood to the adult age. So let's see what are the causative factors and know what tips we can take home, take away message today. And constipation, Ayurveda, basically it emphasis more on the digestive system, and it is a common digestive system disorder, we can say, and it also indicates other major illnesses, issues which are related to this digestive tract. So in Ayurveda, there are like bioenergies, we say. Those are like Vata is wind element, then Pitta is fire element, and Kapha is water element. So these are the elements which governs the entire body. And in this constipation, the main thing which is imbalanced is your vata dosha, which is like vata dosha, or the wind element, is essential for it governs every moment in your body, whether it is in internal circulation or your digestion, everything, and even the moment externally. So let's see ahead. One second. Oh, it's not going forward. Okay, the causes. So the causes of constipation, basically having irregular diet patterns, then having more dietary dairy products in your diet, having more of cold and dry food items in your diet, or including more of pungent, astringent, or salty food in your diet, that also hampers or that causes more constipation. Irregular meal times, then frequent episodes of indigestion, this also leads to constipation. And even intake of food in a larger quantity, that also it impairs the digestive system, leads to indigestion, accumulation of more of toxins in your body, like it is called as ama in Ayurveda. So these all factors causes constipation. Then the second factor is the irregular eating pattern, like you have food only at one time, maybe only in the morning or maybe only at night, or you don't have a good routine, no good schedule for your diet. That also leads to increase in your vata dosha or the wind element in your body. That also hampers constipation. Then in this picture, you can see the sedentary lifestyle. Nowadays, sedentary lifestyle is one of the major factor for constipation, and inactivity, lack of exercise, even sitting at one place and having food, then sleeping right away after having food, that also leads to indigestion because there's no time given properly for the food to digest well. Then ahead is, you can see the water. So intake of water, how it should be taken, that also Ayurveda has told rules of intake of water, how you should take. It should not be consumed in excess. You should take water only when you are very thirsty or when you are thirsty, and try to have warm water instead of cold water or iced or chilled water, because warm water, it helps to increase the digestive fire basically. And then water also helps to digest the food well, and it even diminishes the dryness which is there in your intestine after the digestion process. When the food gets into the large intestine, that time the water is absorbed, and if there is less water content, then the stool becomes very hard. So this is one of the major causative factor causing dehydration, also leads to constipation. Then is the mental stress, anxiety, depression. These are the causative factors nowadays seen with constipation, and even in not only in adults but even in kids, like mental tension for the kids, or even some kids try to hold their urge, the natural urge of passing stool or passing urine, just because they want to play. Or even if we take an example, if we are in an office and we have a meeting and we have the natural urges but we try to hold them back, that also is one of the causative factor for constipation. Then the medicines. So constipation episode may even occur as a side effect of taking some medicines, like medicines of rheumatoid arthritis, Parkinsonism, or depression, iron pills, or pills which contain calcium, aluminum. So these are what, or if you abuse, if you over take more laxatives, that also may lead to chronic constipation. So you should be careful while taking any of the medications, and take it under the supervision of a doctor. Don't self-medicate yourself. Then this is another a very major causative factor, we can say, like change in daily routine because of your traveling, longer journey, sitting at one place, even climate change and change in place or geographical location, that also leads to constipation. And last but not least is pregnancy. So during pregnancy, most of the women, they suffer for due to constipation, because of the fetus exerts more pressure on your intestine, and it causes the blockage of bowel movements, and that also leads to constipation. So these are the causative factors. Let's move ahead. What is the pathology of Ayurveda? How Ayurveda, sorry, one second, I'll just take it. So Ayurvedic pathology. So first thing you should keep in mind, Ayurveda talks about the digestive fire, because constipation, as I said, it is a disorder of digestive system. So this digestive fire it gets imbalanced or out of track because of imbalance in bioenergies which are there in our body. So basically now you can see here, there are 3 types of digestive fire imbalances. So when the wind element increases more in your body, then the digestive fire becomes irregular. You might be hungry sometime, you might not be. So there is an irregular pattern of your appetite. And if the fire content or the fire element in your body increases, then the digestive fire becomes a lot of ignited, and you feel every time hungry, and you tend to overeat more things. That also leads to digestive tract problem, and it leads to constipation. And the third one, which you can see, it is the weak digestive fire. That is causative factor because of more water element in your body, that is the kapha dosha. And this weak digestive fire cannot digest the food well, even if you are taking in a smaller quantity. So these hamper the digestive system. And the second factor is vata imbalance or the wind imbalance in your body. So vata imbalance, so vata, the wind element, governs the entire movement in your body, whether it is internal or external. And there are 5 types of wind element in our body. So out of which one of them, you can see here, imbalanced Apanavata dosha. So Apanavat is one of the type amongst the 5 types of wind element in our body, and this governs the elimination process in our body. So Apana dosh means if there is imbalance in this wind property, then the elimination becomes really very difficult and it causes constipation. So we can see there are 2 factors Ayurveda has talked about why it causes constipation, because of weak digestive fire and because of imbalance in your vata dosha or the wind element, which is responsible for the excretion process or the elimination process in your body. So weak digestive fire, it when you consume any etiological factors or the causative factors, and that accumulation of stubborn toxins cause obstruction in the channels, and then the metabolism is hampered, and there is increased wind, that increased wind deviates from its normal path, and it affects the stool lying in the large intestine, and that's where the stool gets obstructed and it cannot pass through the anus or the rectum. Same is if you see in the second pathology, the imbalanced Apanavata dosha. In that, it weakens the digestive process totally. You can, the symptoms are like the bowel sounds you can hear from the intestine, or abdominal pain, flatulence, abdominal distension due to obstruction, difficulty passing urine and stool. So these are the symptoms which are seen in a person when it is we can say in a chronic stage, and which is not untreated and not properly taken care of your digestive fire and that imbalanced wind. So this causes a lot of dryness in your large intestine, and if there is a lot of dryness, then it is very hard for the stool to pass ahead, and then it gets obstructed into the rectum, and it's very hard to pass out, making the stool very dry and hard. So these are the 2 pathologies which Ayurveda has mentioned for constipation. And moving forward, what happens when constipated? So what are the symptoms or signs a person see when you are constipated? So basically it is like inability to have a bowel movement for several days, or it may be like 3 days, or maybe 5 days, or a week. So it is really, and sometimes the person or the individual becomes very habitual to that pattern, and that leads to chronic constipation and we are going to see what complications he or she may land into. Abdominal pain and bloatedness, passing a lot of gases, flatulence, and feeling uncomfortable, heaviness in the body, letharginess, and even difficulty and pain while passing the stool, dry and hard stool, feeling of incompletely emptying of stool. So you don't feel satisfied after passing stool. That is one of the major symptom we can say of constipation. And even Ayurveda has mentioned about infrequent, the bowel movements might be infrequent or hard just because of consuming very dry, pungent, and even bitter and salty food. If you have that, that leads to major constipation, and you should avoid like red chili or green chili powder when you are preparing a food. Now let's see what are the major consequences when you ignore constipation for a longer time and what complications it might lead to. So constipation makes sufferer or the diseased person very uncomfortable, but it is not life-threatening. But if it is not treated on time, it might trigger other health issues. So you should be very careful when you are constipated, and you should do some home remedies or either consult any doctors. So one of the major complication, the first step which we see after chronic constipation or after prolonged constipation for a few months or so, it is like rectal bleeding on habitual straining. So what happens is straining to pass stool can lead to swelling in the veins which are there near to the anus, and that can lead to like hemorrhoids, or it is also called as piles. These hemorrhoids can start bleeding and fresh blood can be seen while passing the motions, and this might lead into a serious issues like anemia. So person might sometimes feel very weak after passing stool. Abdominal bloating, so that is also caused because of the obstruction and uh, the vata dosha or the wind element which is diverted upwards, that might cause more of bloating and more of heaviness in the stomach. Hemorrhoids we just talked about. Then the anal fissure, so when the stool are too hard to pass, the evacuating it puts pressure on the anus and can cause cuts at the anus, and these cuts are formed near to the anus, and those are called as anal fissures. So these also, then it might lead ahead if it is untreated and not seen properly. These might lead into complications like pus formation into that, and it might lead into fistula, a path which is formed into the anus. So once you see all these symptoms, you should first contact a doctor and take a treatment properly. Then fecal impaction. This is also a very common complication seen in pediatric, like in kids as well as in the old age group, basically. So these are the hard stone stool which are gathered near to the rectum, and they are very hard to pass, and you need a surgical procedure to remove those hard stones from the anus. So when straining becomes excessive and regular, there is a risk of even rectal prolapse, we can say, or the bowel perforation. So rectal prolapse is a word, like these are all medical terminology. So prolapse is like it gets ruptured. So this rectum may protrude out, it might come out, and then the anus requires medical attention, and you need to again undergo some surgical procedure to take it back. So these are the complications when the constipation is not treated well. And to avoid these complications, it is important to get proper and timely treatment for constipation. So never avoid habitual constipations. So people are habitual to constipation since years, and they don't go and take treatment for that because it becomes an habit, and that's really wrong. So you might land up in some of the complications like this. And frequent headaches are also seen, migraine attacks are also seen when constipation remains prolonged for many years. So now let's see what is the line of treatment according to Ayurveda. So first thing is, according to Ayurveda, it is like, the constitution, we see the constitution of a person, and what are the food habits or what is the lifestyle, the correction of eating patterns are done, lifestyle changes are done, and even the intensity of the disease and even the strength of the individual is seen, and according to that the treatment is given. So internal olation, this is one of the very easiest way to get rid of constipation. So you can see in this picture, this is cow's ghee and warm milk. If you mix 1 spoon of cow's ghee into warm milk and have it at night, next day morning, you will have soothing, you will pass smooth stool. So this is one of the treatment which is given. Then even there is external olation and steam. So external olation can be with all the herbal oils. So herbal oil massage, ginger oil or even fennel oil, or just the sesame oil. So these can be massaged in a circular pattern over the abdomen, and then hot fermentation or steam can be given. So this also helps to reduce constipation, and you can pass normal stools. Even laxatives and herbal suppositories. So laxatives like Triphala. Triphala is one of the herbs which is really very common, and this is a good laxative. And even castor oil. This is also one of the herbs which is very common. I have taken these common herbs to know that these have laxative properties. And even herbal suppositories are made, and even those are also inserted through the anus when it is really very difficult for a person to pass stool when he is bedridden. Especially herbal suppositories are used in bedridden patients. Then the seasonal detox and cleansing. This is also one of the major, we can say, treatment in Ayurveda, a Panchakarma treatment. It is like herbal oil enema or purgation therapy. So herbal oil enema is like passing herbal oil through the anus, and it lubricates your large intestine, and it helps to reduce the dryness in the internal organ of your large intestine, and it helps to relieve constipation. And even purgation. So purgation also helps to reduce if there is more fire content and even wind content. So it helps to eliminate those doshas from your body. Okay, now let's see tips to prevent constipation. So it is like Basically, the tips to prevent constipation are eat more of fibrous food. That is said. So what are the fibrous foods? You can include more of grains in your diet, like wheat, barley, jowar, oats, or even barn flex cereals. So you can include those, even legumes such as red lentils and mung beans, green and yellow mung bean, black eye beans, kidney beans, soya beans, and chickpeas. Include those in your diet. Even fruits like berries, apples, with skin on, no juices, but the whole fruit as it is. Even pear, oranges, plums, and prunes. This also helps to reduce constipation. Even vegetables, all the veggies like carrots, then even pumpkins, bottle gourd, ridge gourd. So these are some uh, vegetables which I'm talking about, which you can get in Asian marts. So those are also very good, high in fiber content. And cauliflowers and cabbages, so you can include those, spinach, fenugreek leaves. So those are good for uh, to relieve constipation. And then dry fruits like soaked almonds and peanuts and pecans, soaked raisins, prunes, and soaked figs and dates also relieves constipation. Include include even ghee and oil in your diet. At least like 400 ml per person per month should be consumption of either ghee or oil, but it should be 400 ml per person per month. So you should include these two in your diet regularly, so that it reduces dryness in your internal organs. Then include more of physical activity, exercise daily, so which helps for good circulation in the body, and it helps to relieve constipation. And even uh, what you should not do is like try not to have more of coffees and teas and even alcoholic beverages, aerated drinks, and even smoking or cold salads, cold sandwiches. So these kind of things should be avoided. And try not sit for a long time. Try to uh, uh, try to get up whenever you are working. Sorry. Okay. So these are the tips which you can take home. And even try to avoid spicy food, very fried and oily food, even heavy non-veg food should be avoided. So these are the tips to prevent constipation. Now let's move forward for the home remedies. So home remedies are like, you can see here, prunes. So prunes is one of the natural solution for constipation, and it acts as a mild laxative and cleanses the colon. It increases the peristaltic movement also, and its sugar content in the prune helps to draw fluid into the intestine. So prunes, like half glass of prune juice per day or 5 to 6 prunes daily, will also help to relieve chronic constipations. Then include carrots in your diet, whether it is steamed or if you are taking carrot juice, but take it along with the pulp. You don't have to like strain it, but take it along with the pulp. At least have 200 grams of carrots each day in your diet. And there are like soluble fibers and insoluble fibers in carrots. So the insoluble fiber is also essential to keep the bowel healthy. So try to have carrots in your diet. And then is fennel seeds. So fennel seeds is also one of the uh, good home remedy which can be done. You can make fennel seed out of it. So Noel will share the notes later with you. So I have written all the recipes into that, the home remedy recipes. So you can go through the notes later, and how you can prepare the fennel seed tea. So fennel seed tea, or even if you crush fennel seeds and take the crushed powder, 1 teaspoon, and just drink it along with warm water, that also relieves you with flatulence and even bloatedness. So, and it even aids good digestion. So fennel seeds is also good to take. Then is fenugreek. So fenugreek I just spoke about. So fenugreek leaves are also very good laxatives, and you can even prepare like dals out of it, or veggies or curries, and even pancakes, and even fenugreek seeds. So fenugreek seeds, if you make fenugreek seeds powder, if you take it along with warm water, that also helps to relieve from constipation, and it softens the stools, and it helps to eliminate bowels properly. And even figs. So if seasonally, if you get fig fruit is really good laxative, and it gives good release from constipation. So you can have at least 3 to 4 figs per day, or else dry figs are also magic wonder for constipation. So you can soak those dry figs in glass of water around 3 to 4, and then soak it overnight, and in the morning you can just eat those soaked figs and drink that water along with that empty stomach. So that also leads to good digestive fire, and even it helps to relieve constipation. And then is gulkanda, so that is rose petal jam. So rose petal jam is also an excellent natural solution for constipation, and these rose petals flowers are mild laxative, and you can take 1 teaspoon of that rose petal jam in the morning along with warm water. This also helps to relieve constipation, and even it helps to relieve acidity, and even any of the other symptoms of increased fire content in your body. Then is spinach juice. So spinach is also one of the good source of fiber, and spinach juice, or even spinach curry and spinach soup, are really good to have at night for dinner if you are suffering from constipation. It improves the peristaltic movement of the intestine and helps the stool moving in the intestine. And last is the raisins. So preferably black raisins are good for relieving constipation. So eating raisins helps to maintain the digestive system healthy, and it keeps it healthy. It helps moving the stool from the intestine to the colon, and eases its in the defecation process. So 1 tablespoon of raisins a day, maybe you can include with the cereals, or even you can make a decoction of that, like 20 grams of raisins in 200 ml of milk or water, whatever you prefer. Boil it, and then boil it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then once it becomes lukewarm, then you can consume that. So that is also one of the good remedy for constipation. Now moving forward. Okay, useful herbs. So let's see which are the useful herbs and how do they react. So for mild constipation, we have Triphala, then Haritaki powder, then Kutki, Aragvad, Patola, castor oil, pepper and long pepper. So these are the herbs which are good as a mild for mild constipation. And usually these all herbs have like carminative action. They stimulate digestive fire, and even they are antispasmodic, like they relieve the pain, they relieve the gases, and even they are good laxative and even liver stimulant. So the metabolism is also increased. It is not only the digestive fire, but the metabolism is also increased. So these are the herbs which are really helpful in mild constipation, and it relieves constipation. And for severe constipation, it is Trivrit, Jaipal, and Danti. These are the three herbs which are used for severe constipation, and these are the purgative herbs, we can say. Usually purgative herbs are a bit severe in action if you are having chronic constipation. So every herb has a different action, and it should be taken under the guidance of a doctor. So you cannot, like, you just have constipation and you go and take Triphala, but only Triphala is not going to work. So only Haritaki powder is not going to work. So you need to undergo to know your constitution, to know why you are getting constipated, the reason for constipated, and then only use these herbs. Herbal formulations. So there are few herbal formulations which should be taken under doctor's guidance, and those are like Triphala plus, Triphala rose, Avipatti powder, Hingwashtak powder, Trikatu powder. So even we have like MA1010 detox and detox pitta, and even MA685. So these are the few herbal formulations of Maharshi Ayurveda, and even some classical formulations which help in relieving constipation. And these herbal formulations work in action of like relieving, or they act as the drug helps in proper forming of excreta, and also breaks the obstructions and even brings them downward, to known as anuloma, means it relieves the gases and then the stools are passed. So Triphala plus or Triphala rose, if you have like sticky stools and very not very hard stools but sticky stools, so you can use Triphala rose in that case. And Avipatti powder is usually used as along with ghee. So it is usually given to those who are having more of fire content in their body. So these are like different factors which are enrolled into these formulations. So it should be taken under doctor's guidance. Then useful yoga postures and breathing techniques. So sun salutations, as everyone knows. So in sun salutations, majorly there are all forward bending and backward bending postures, and this helps to stimulate your digestive system, and thus it relieves from constipation. Even Vajrasana or the thunderbolts pose, this is the thunderbolt pose. So this is also a very good pose which can be performed after having food. So this is the only posture, yoga posture, which can be performed after having food. So you can sit in thunderbolt pose for around 5 to 10 minutes after your lunch, after your dinner, or after your meals. And then seated half spine twist pose. This also helps to relieve constipation. Then is the bow pose. This is the bow pose. This also helps to relieve constipation. Then the butterfly pose. So these are all poses which are mentioned here. They help to relieve constipation as they act on your digestive system, on your solar plexus, and thus it helps to relieve the excess of gases in your system, and it improves the circulation in the digestive system. And the breathing techniques like Agnisar Pranayam or Kapalbhati Pranayam. Now, whoever has done the course, they will know what is Agnisar Pranayam or what is Kapalbhati Pranayam. So these pranayams should be performed only under the guidance of a yoga instructor, but don't do it on your own, just watching it on the YouTube. Just the last slide now. So this is the take home message. You are what you digest. So try to avoid all the etiological factors which causes constipation. Try to have warm, freshly cooked food, and try to sip warm water every day, and stay healthy, stay fit. Thank you. Okay. So any questions? Maybe I'll have to, you can type in your chat box if you have any questions.
That's wonderful, Dr. Chitrali. Lots of information there. And so if any of you have any question, please type in. We have a few minutes and Dr. Chitrali will answer. Looks like everybody's very happy and they got all the information. Yeah, so people are saying thank you. Okay, so yeah, so there's a question for you.
Yeah. So someone is asking Silesium husk. Yes, perfectly. You can go ahead with the husk because as it is recommended, the directions are given how you have to take along with 1 glass of water or something like that. You can go ahead because it has good fiber content and you can go ahead with that. Okay. Veronica is saying I'm a bit confused about oily food. Okay, so I mentioned about consuming ghee and oil in your diet, but it doesn't mean fried or oily stuff. It is just you have to include oil or ghee while making curries, or if you are steaming any salads. So try to saute those or stir fry those in oil or ghee. So the consumption should be limited to around 400 ml per month per person. So if you are like 2 people in a home, so you should not consume more than 800 ml of oil or ghee, whatever you are using, per month. Okay. Let me get back to the questions again. Castor oil, should we take the internal or external? Okay, so castor oil can be taken internally as well, and externally usually it is used in kids or even to give enema in chronic constipation. So castor oil can be used internally, but you have to check properly the castor oil. There are 2 types of castor oils which can be consumed or which can be used external. So check that and then take it. Should bread be avoided? Better if you have a choice to have rotis or pancakes, you can go for those healthy choices than having bread. But once in a while, bread should be fine, but not daily. Is surgery the only remedy for rectal prolapse? Yes, there are few exercises. So rectal prolapse again depends upon how much degree the prolapse is. If it is grade 1, then it can be like done manually, like under very minimal surgical procedure, and it can be again reverted back to its position. But if it is like grade 2 or 3, then it might need a surgery. Yes, sure. You can email me later. Okay, there seems to be some contradictions about how much water to take. You say that you should not have too much. Yeah, one site I read 12 glasses. Yeah. So see, I spoke about Ayurvedic perspective about intake of water. So what Ayurveda says about water is you should consume water or food, whatever, just as per your need, how much your body requires. It is not 12 glasses for each person. Every person has a different constitution. Every person has a different digestive fire. So water should be consumed only when you are thirsty, not not immediately after having food, or not before having food. Because if you have water before having food, then you are going to, the ignited fire which is there in the digestive system, it is going to diminish. So you should not drink excess of water before food and after food, but you can have sips of warm water between your meals. Okay. What is the best time to have prunes, and do they need to soak? Prunes no need to soak, so you can have it like early in the morning, or at night, or maybe in your snack time around 4 to 5 p.m. That is also a good time to have prunes. What about using lactobacillus gut bacteria? Yeah, if you are using that, that should be fine. But only thing is, like, don't overdo anything. Keep everything, like, do everything in limits. So if you do overdo anything, like if you say like prunes are good for constipation, and if you start eating only prunes a day, like excess, that is also going to harm your digestive system. So whatever you do it in limit, and if it is giving you relief, you can go ahead. Gluten-free bread is always dry. Have you any suggestions? Yes, gluten-free bread is always dry, but what you can do is, like, you can apply little of cow's ghee to it, roast it, toast it, and then have it if you are gluten intolerance. But if you are not, if you can consume normal bread, you should go ahead with normal breads instead of gluten-free. Yes, lassi, salted lassi, like thakra. Thakra is also one of the very good you have pointed. Who is that? Sian. Yeah. So I have not mentioned about thakra, and thakra is like the lassi, salted lassi is very good. We can say appetizer also, a good laxative also, and it even helps to aid more digestion process. So salted lassi, like 1 tablespoon of plain yogurt, and then you have to whisk it well, add little bit of rock salt and little bit of cumin powder, like just 2 pinch of it, and 1 glass of water into that, normal water, and mix it and have it along with your meals. So that is also good. Okay, should I have covered this before? Okay, sorry to hear about that. What do you think of colonics? Yeah, colonics is also like, see, you should not get used to anything, nor the laxatives, nor the colonics. So try to use herbal home remedies. So home remedies are best to go forward, and colonics or laxatives, you can't take it for lifelong. So switch to natural ways to relieve constipation. Doing Kapalbhati breathing every morning, should this help the digestive fire and help? Yes, perfectly. Kapalbhati is going to ignite your digestive fire, because it is going to stimulate your internal organs, your digestive system. And this also helps to increase more circulation in that area, in all over the body. So Kapalbhati is going to help a lot in increasing the digestive fire. Colonic irrigation helpful. So colonic irrigation, I am really not very much familiar about it, but I'll get back to you, Victoria. Can we take the rose triphala without a consultation? You can start with 1 or 2 pills, but don't take it like for months and months, only when you are feeling constipated. So again, what I mentioned about is there is acute constipation, there is habitual constipation, there is chronic constipation. So if you have chronic constipation, please get consultation with one of the Vaidyas with us, and then go ahead and take the tablets. But if it is just sometime you are using Triphala rose, then that is fine. For the ghee in hot milk in the evening, how much ghee in a glass? Yeah, I have written everything in the notes. So it is like if you take 250 ml of milk or 200 ml of milk, you can add 1 teaspoon of melted ghee into that. Just see how you feel next day. If 1 teaspoon is not enough, you might add more, another 1 teaspoon into that. Okay. So slowly and gradually you have to increase the dose. So the dose may vary person to person. Are raisins and other dried fruits not easily digestible if not soaked in water? Yeah. Yeah. So the micronutrients are or to digest it well, it is better to soak raisins or even almonds and even figs. Soak it well and then have it, so that you will get the benefits and it will get rid of constipation. And almonds, you have to peel off the skin. Don't eat the skin as it is. So peel off the skin and then have the almonds. Okay. So thank you everyone for patience listening, and thank you for your lovely comments. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Raj.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Chitrali. That's great. And everybody will get a recording. I think that stay in your inbox for 1 month. So do listen on time. And you have the notes already emailed to you that Dr. Chitrali said. So go through the recipes and yeah, feel free to ask, email Dr. Chitrali if there is any question. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Dr. Chitrali.
Yeah, thank you and namaste. Have a great evening ahead.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Raj.
Yeah, gonna end the session. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good night, everyone. Bye.